This is Chris with Dive Zone Scuba for another technical diving tips, techniques, and trips video. This is part 6 of the 6-part Plate and Wing series. If you have not yet seen parts 1 through 5, we encourage you to view those videos before you continue. In this video, we're going to discuss how to attach the bladder or wing to the plate and harness using different types of single tech adapters and other means. We'll also be talking about the different ways the tank bands can be used to secure the tank onto the single tank adapter and the plate. One of the decisions that you'll have to make is what type of tank band and how many tank bands you would like to use to secure your tank to your plate and wing. So one of the most common types of tank bands is the plastic one-piece buckle. Here's an example of that. A variation on the one-piece tank band is a one-piece tank band with a metal buckle, like this Mares. And then there was another category of tank bands called two-piece tank bands, which have a buckle which separates, and when you are closing the buckle, you fit them together and then close the buckle. So 3 different types of tank bands that you can select, deciding upon your preferences. Another consideration is how you're going to secure your wing and or single tank adapter to the actual plate itself. So we have a variety of options here, and it does depend somewhat upon whether or not you're going to be using a single tank adapter and even what kind of single tank adapter you're going to use. And so on the left here we have these things that are commonly called book screws, and these can be used in the event that you are not going to use a single tank adapter. And these types of screws can be used to attach the wing directly to the plate. Another alternative, if you're not going to use book screws and you decide not to use a single tank adapter, is to use a flathead screw like this. And it is very important to, in this event, if you're not going to be using a single tank adapter, to make sure that you try to use something that has a flat head, which prevents the tank from rolling around like it would be with this particular carriage bolt. Okay, so you have a choice there of doing either one of those, and we'll talk about those later. In the event that you're going to use a single tank adapter, most single tank adapters have some kind of square notch there, and so if you're going to be mounting this on a plate and wing using the single tank adapter, you would use the carriage bolt with the square base, and you would have it fit in the single tank adapter like that. The next issue is how are you going to secure the actual nut and bolt. So you have several options here. These are nylon or Darylon nuts, and you can use these to secure the nut, carriage bolt in this case, onto the single tank adapter, and you can put it on right side up or upside down. The only difference that it really makes is that on some nylon or Darylon nuts, there is an area that is not threaded right there. So this area right here is not threaded. So if you have a shorter carriage bolt and you need every single thread, you might want to thread it on that way. Alright, so these Darylon nuts are one way of securing everything together. Another common way is to use 2 different washers and 2 different lock nuts lock washers and 2 different wing nuts. Okay, so if we're going to be doing that, what we would be doing is putting this through the plate, and then with the plate here, we would put down the lock washer, or sorry, the washer, the lock washer, and then also the wing nut on last. That's how we would be securing this, and again, we'll go into that more in detail. This allows you to take apart your single tank adapter if you'd like. A more permanent solution is to use a washer and then a nylon lock nut, okay, and this will screw onto here, and it's got the little piece of nylon on the inside that will prevent it from unscrewing. So whenever you're using a plate and a wing, one of the important things is to make sure the plate and the wing are secure. So you want to check the whole system for tightness by making sure these nuts are tight, the wing nuts are tight, or anything else that you use is tight. Okay, so you have to make some decisions as to what type of bolt and what type of nut you're going to use in order to secure your system together. You will need to decide whether you would like to use some sort of STA, single tank adapter, to secure your tank onto your plate and wing, or if you would like to try to use nothing at all. So some people do decide to use nothing at all to secure their tank onto their backplate and wing, except for the tank cam bands themselves. However, some people find that that approach does not provide sufficient stability for them, and they elect to have an additional accessory to increase the stability of the tank. So here are 3 different approaches, or 3 different options that you have to increasing the stability of your tank onto your plate. The first way is by using these 2 minimalist type brackets that are used with a bolt, and then what will happen is the tank will rest inside the 2 brackets here and provide stability that way. If you use this approach, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be using that in conjunction with the tank bands being threaded through the actual plate itself. The second way that you can go is with what is called a single tank adapter, and this is a 3-slot single tank adapter. And so with this particular adapter, you have the option of using one hole, like the one in the center, for a single tank strap, or a top and bottom tank strap holder. The third way that you could do this is by using a single tank adapter that looks like this, and in this case you have a situation where you're generally going to use 2 tank straps, and you have the choice of using either the upper position and lower position, or intermediate positions depending upon your configuration. So there are a number of different ways to provide additional stability to your tank when attaching it to the backplate and wing system. Next, we're going to discuss a few different common plate and wing tank band configuration approaches. So we're going to do a couple of configurations next, and the first configuration we're going to be doing is one without a single tank adapter, a more minimalist, simple approach. And I'm going to use the same Mares XR plate that I've been using in this video series, and I'm going to be using a Dive Right rec bladder for our wing. So most systems, not all, but in most cases there is compatibility between different manufacturers, and so we're going to demonstrate this fact now, because some people like particular plates and some people like particular wings. Alright, so we're going to be using a more simple configuration here. So I've got my Mares plate here, and then I've got my wing here. And like I said, the first configuration we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing one without a single tank adapter. So Since we're not using a single tank adapter, our choice is to use a 5/16 by 18 bolt, which is a flathead, and so that is going to go right in there like that. And as you'll see, it is not round, and so that reduces the possibility that the tank is going to roll. Okay, so keeping pressure on this, we can go in on the inside and we can thread on the Darlin nut. Okay, so you want to make sure that's tight. And then I'm going to do the other one here. And we don't need a metal washer with the Darlin nut because it's very wide, so we can just go ahead without that. And I'm screwing that on. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to flip this over before we continue on, and you can see the two Darlin nuts on the flathead bolts. And one of the things people are always worried about is being poked in the back with the bolt, the carriage bolt, or the flathead bolt. And you can see here that this is flush, so we have no danger. We have no danger of that at all. All right, so let's flip this back over. And what we're going to do now is we're going to continue on with our minimalist configuration here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate using a buckle. All right, so when you're using the minimalist approach, you're going to be using the slot in the plate, and virtually every plate has slots like that. And you're going to just simply put the strap through there. Until it's in the right position, and then you can go from there. So we're going to take our strap, and everybody should learn how to thread one of these properly. We see people all the time that take their tank bands apart and don't know how to put them back together again, and as a result their tank bands slip, and then their tanks then go sliding off into who knows where. Okay, so that's the top band, and I'm going to, just for diversity purposes, I'm going to show a different band on here on the bottom. Probably a good idea to use bands of both the same type, but I'm going to stick another band on there so people can see what that looks like, how that works. And so I'm going to use a Maury's metal buckle for the bottom. And this is pretty much the same concept in terms of buckle, except it's metal. So I'm going to again feed it through the bottom here, through the top, and then through the bottom. And again, I'm going to weave it through. So, second type of buckle that we have here, and I believe this one is also put together the same way. Okay, so plastic buckle on the top and metal buckle on the bottom, just to illustrate the differences. And again, most people usually have two buckles that are matching buckles on the top and the bottom. So if you're not using a single tank adapter, you'll definitely need to use two different tank bands in order to assemble your system. While I have the tank bands on the plate, I'd like to demonstrate the use of the smaller type of stabilizing plate. Here what we have are the two plates that look like this. And for best practices, you might want to use either a flat head or a round head bolt, or a bolt like this. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're going to stick the bolt through there. I've got two. I'm going to stick the bolt through here, and I'm going to, instead of having the original screw like that, I'm going to put the bolt through here and then secure it on here. Okay, and you can make this tighter. It actually self-aligns itself once it gets attached to everything. And I'm going to take another one and another bolt and stick that down in there and put this one through. Don't really have enough threads there, so I'll probably have to replace that. Alright, so what we have here is a situation where the tank bands might have to be loosened up a little bit because we have the additional distance of the stabilizing plate, but this does offer the next level in stability with the tank if you still do not want to use a conventional single tank adapter. Now what we're going to talk about is the use of a true single tank adapter with the plate and the wing. And so we're going to use this one, the one that gives you an option of either using one or two tank bands for putting this together. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my carriage bolt, and again this is the one that has the square notch in it, and we're going to put that through. And we're going to then take the nut and put the nut on it. Okay. And then we're going to take the second one, the second carriage bolt. Put that through, and we're going to put on the Darlin nut on the other side. Okay. So we have a single tank adapter on there, and now we have the choice of either putting on one tank band or putting on two tank bands. And so what I have here is the other type of buckle. This particular one is made by Scuba Pro, and it has a grommet in there because sometimes you need to use that to pass the bolt through. But I'm going to put this one in the center because I'm demonstrating the use of one tank band now, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to do with this. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put this through like this. It doesn't have to be in the center there. You can put it anywhere you want to put it. It doesn't really make any difference. And then this has a little buckle like that you weed through here, Velcro it down, and then you're ready to go. And so now all you have to do is put your tank in there, put the buckle on here, and then close the buckle. With this type of buckle, you can actually have the buckle quite tight, and it can be a little bit concerning because the buckle has some sharper edges on it in comparison to plastic, and you could very easily cut yourself if you trap your finger underneath here when you close the tank band. Okay, so that's an example of doing it with one tank band. With our third type of tank band, which is the Scuba Pro. And now we're going to take it off. And the preferred method, though, that I think most people like to use is the top and bottom configuration, where we're going to feed it again like we did through the other one, but instead of feeding it through the plate, we're going to feed it through the single tank adapter itself. Okay, so we're going to just go through and weave this through the same way we did before. Okay, so that's my tank band, and then for my bottom tank band, I'll just go ahead and use the same Mare's buckle that I had before as well. We won't be matchy-matchy, we'll just use what I have here for demonstration purposes. And we have our bottom tank band. So this provides a very stable platform with an upper and lower tank band and the stable single tank adapter that stabilizes the tank. A couple of odds and ends. One of the things that some people encounter is that the tank may slip in the tank band. They can't get it tight enough in order to securely mount the tank. And so one thing that can help is a small rubber pad like that. And like everything else, there's a couple of different ways to put the pad on there. And one way is by putting it on some part of the tank band out here, but that does sometimes prevent the buckle from closing if it slips out of position, so it can move around. Another way of doing it is what we're going to do here next. Is we're going to put this up against the tank, single tank adapter. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave this through here like that, and I'm going to get it going. And then I'm going to put it through the tank, single tank adapter. And then I'm going to weave the loose end through this. And this has the advantage of not making the tank get scratched, if that's important to you. Most people don't care if somebody else's tank gets scratched, but that's one thing that you can do in order to help the tank not get scratched. And of course, we would just weave this through the same way as before. In order to secure the tank. Okay, so that's all the same. Now, another issue, which I would call an odds and ends maybe, is taking your system here, the upper set of tank bands, and putting a set of trim pouches on there. So what happens with some people is they are a little bit foot heavy, and in order to achieve proper horizontal trim on a dive, they need to have a little bit of weight up toward the top of their body. So I'm going to thread this through one more time. And as I mentioned earlier in some of the other series in this set, that there are different types of weight pouches. This is one that we commonly used for a trim pouch. And again, we prefer the kind that have both the mechanical buckle and the Velcro together. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to stick one of these things on. And you got to make sure everything's in the right orientation. Otherwise, you're going to be taking it apart. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm fitting this through this strap here on one side, and you generally want to have it toward the end. And I'm going to fit it through here and through here again. It's coming all the way here, pulling it through, and I'm going to put a second tank, pouch here on this. And again, you got to make sure you don't twist it, and it's on the right side up and all that, and you go down there like that. Okay, so now we're able to do our last thread through here for this video and get this through and demonstrate this. Okay, so when you do dive with a configuration like this, you want to make sure that the weight pouches in general are closest toward the wing, and that they're not out here somewhere, because that will tend to make your weighting a little bit off. But we do find out that many people do need a upper set of trim pouches on the upper tank band to get them in horizontal trim. If you need to carry a lot of weight, like let's say you're diving in a dry suit with heavy insulation, sometimes what we do is we have another set of these on the lower tank band, as well as weight pouches on the belt, and that gives us the ability to carry significantly more weight in the event that we are diving in a dry suit with heavy undergarments. Okay, all right, so a couple of odds and ends with the assembly of the wing and the tank bands on the plate and wing system. That's it for our 6-part series on plate and wing systems. This is Chris with Dive Zone Scuba. I hope this video was helpful, and thanks for watching.